You can't just go around taking other people's penises, Dave.
We've talked about this.
Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I am joined by Chris Bratt.
Hello.
Dave Scammell.
Hello.
And Steve Burns.
Hello.
And today we are the only gaming podcast that should probably be drug tested because I've had 2 slices of toast with Nutella on and I've been caught by the police doing so.
Yikes.
And you appear to be working your way through the largest coffee I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's empty. I didn't mean to. The machine just...
Yes.
Are your eyeballs all right in your head? Because it looks like they want to...
They feel like they're vibrating.
Looks like they want to go a walkabout.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing today?
I had a Red Bull last night, and I feel like I'm going crazy.
I had one this morning, and
Dave, you're so
you're not a Red Bull breakfast person, are you?
a little bit.
despise those people.
I don't drink coffee. Okay, you people have your coffee, and
Yeah,
then
but coffee is
normalise
coffee's like a natural drug.
Lies.
Whereas like Red Bull is just like, what's in this? B12. What's B12? Shut up.
Don't
Yeah.
ask.
Don't ask
It's
questions.
12 Bs, okay? Exactly. Beads.
Beads. And what have you been playing? Who's been playing a game?
I've been playing a lot of Skyrim mods.
Yeah, you have,
got a video
actually.
coming up today, hopefully. Should be good.
Yeah, you've been looking at like, because obviously Bethesda have said that they're not working on Skyrim anymore, right?
Yeah, that's right. The Skyrim team's now moved on
Lazy
to...
bastards.
I know. God.
Had enough of that shite.
Dragons. Dragons. Fuck off.
Yeah, not
Pretty
working
much.
on it anymore. They seem to stop working on it about halfway through development.
Oh, hey.
Oh, shots
That's
fired.
a
Yeah.
joke for any of you that own a PlayStation.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's some interesting stuff on there, aren't there? Because obviously there's a couple of really weird adult ones, right?
Yeah,
Like I saw
I'm
the
not
patch notes for one you were talking about, which was like, hey, it adds strap-ons so that women can have sex using the male animations. or
Yes,
something.
that's
It's like,
correct.
great.
That's correct.
I'm glad they've patched that in. I was
It's-
wondering when that functionality was going to appear.
Yeah, there's...
Game
well,
of the Year edition.
The main kind of 2 hubs you use are like Steam Workshop and then Nexus Mods. And then on Nexus Mods, it tends to sort your kind of all the add-ons by which was most popular.
Oh,
but
God.
it filters out...
Are the most
the
popular
adult
ones?
stuff. They are, well, you press a button and suddenly, yes, there's quite a few...
The most popular ones are the adult ones? Or...
Yeah,
You said that while rubbing your knees.
Yeah,
As if
well,
like,
it just makes me... No.
I spent a while on that page.
It's an anxious reaction.
Lydia. Oh, Lydia.
All the things you can do to
Oh,
Lydia
Lydia.
with a couple of mods.
Can you carry some more equipment for me, Lydia?
I've seen images of like a Jessica Alba mod and things like that.
Really?
Yeah.
She doesn't fit into the setting.
No, does it matter?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
All right.
I'm somebody who doesn't have any relationships with the people in Mass Effect because I feel as I'm their boss and I feel it is unprofessional to be
Absolutely.
engaged in any form of relationship with people,
Absolutely.
especially when you're under a lot of pressure and you get to this point where these people need me to be looking out for them. I don't want to be making snap decisions because I like somebody's bottom. I mean, that's just...
That would endanger the mission.
It would endanger the mission.
You need
And
to be
that's why
objective.
I'm a space captain and nobody else is.
Exactly.
FTL.
So what's your favourite...
FML.
Yeah, FTL, FML, yeah. What's your favourite
Well,
mod?
I was...
Apart from the one with the horses in.
Yeah, no, we don't want
You
to talk about
sick
that.
bastard.
Listen. I think there's one called Moon Path to Elsewhere, which is it's kind of like a huge hour-plus quest line where you travel with a Khajiit caravan to their homeworld.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just someone's really put it like an incredible amount of work into it.
Yeah, it looked really nice. Sort of jungly.
Yeah, oh, it's brilliant. There's a few in the works at the moment that are kind of like, you know, the size of like a DLC. But that's probably your best bet if you're looking for a big chunky quest line to dive into.
I like Skyrim, but if anything, like I found it had too much content anyway. I explored about 2/3 of the map, and then I just sort of wandered off to play other games. But I had this massive chunk of the map I just never went to, which is a shame because you do have moments where you go, "Wow, this is cool," but an awful lot of it is just like, "This is another cave."
Yeah.
It gets a bit repetitive.
Yep. But I found that with Oblivion and all that.
I never got into
I
Oblivion
didn't,
at all.
not so much Fallout though, weirdly. Even though they're the same type of games, I found that Fallout mixed it up a little bit more than perhaps Skyrim
It did. It
But-
did. I think because the characterization, the storylines in Fallout were better. I like the way you had those little micro stories where I think the difference is that like in Fallout 3 when you have a little story happening in a little town, it's like the people are eating other people and keeping it a secret. Whereas in Skyrim, it's like, there is an ancient mage in a cave. And it's like, that's kind of cool for a while, but it lacks, it's kind of not very, not a lot of depth.
Yeah.
And even the way when it's like, There was one good quest in Skyrim, actually, which was one where you went into that house and you ended up like summoning some Daedric god or
the
something.
Daedric quest in general,
And
I
it was
think,
like,
are good.
oh, what's going on? And it got really dark.
Yeah, the one in Oblivion where there was someone murdered or something at a party.
Yeah.
Oh, that
I
is
remember that
probably
one. That was
of
always
my-
like the standout mission.
It's the Assassins, the Dark Brotherhood quest line, isn't it?
I can't remember it.
You
But
get
it's
stuck
like
in
now.
house. That
I
is
can remember
one of
the
best
idea.
quests I've played, definitely.
Yeah, amazing.
But it's annoying
More of that,
because
please.
it's sort of like people will hate me for saying this, but it's like, can you just make the games less big? Like, I'd prefer it if Skyrim was like a third smaller, but better.
In terms of the
Yeah,
actual
absolutely.
game world or things to do,
Yeah.
in terms of the size of the
In
map,
terms of
or
yeah,
things that you
anything.
can do,
Yeah, in
or-
terms of the size of the map, like in terms of the size of the map and the size of the areas, take a couple of towns out and just make them richer. Like because I get so tired of just having really two-dimensional quests and not a lot of depth and not a lot of progression. I like the idea of having that stuff where you can go back to a town and stuff has changed. Fallout 3 did that to an extent, but not that much. It was sort of like Megaton on-off switch.
I think open world should do that more.
Bethesda aren't good at it, though, are they? They're not good
No.
at characters. I mean, that's why I hated Oblivion. Everyone was like, Oblivion is so good, you can set fire to dogs. And I was like, well, yeah, but all the people have faces made of clay. And,
Create a wrestler default characters. I think I stole that joke from someone. Sorry, I don't know. But with open worlds, with GTA 5, I was really excited because I thought that you'd be able to use money like you've used bullets in the game before.
Yeah.
You'd use money to influence your environment. You'd be able to buy up the city, but it seems you can't really do that. So I'm actually quite disappointed already. But
They did
I
that with
think-
Vice City, right? Or
Yeah,
some
but
of it.
Vice City
They kind of
Story,
experimented
yeah. In
with
Vice
it.
City Stories, you could buy shop fronts or whatever and use them as fronts for prostitution or drugs. And then when you did so, you could go into different levels. So you could do high volume and high turnover, but there'd be more attention. And so it was, and with GTA 5 being about kind of cash and recession and how money moves and works, it seems, I thought, yes, I'll finally be able to buy. I loved in Vice City when you started to buy up the property and you felt like you were doing the Scarface thing of controlling somewhere rather than just being a kind of tourist in another world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GTA 4 did kind of digital tourism, and I was like, and when I actually went to New York for the first time after I played, for the very first time, and it was after I played the game, I arrived in Times Square and I was like, really weird, I kind of feel I've been here before because it's so good, but I felt like in this one I'd be able to influence the city more.
I freaked my parents out big time with something similar like that when we went to the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and they have this kind of like, in addition to all the modern art stuff, they have this kind of historical area where they have like all this amazing stuff, and they actually have like, it's almost like Egyptian structures in this big room, and they are actually like brought over from Egypt or whatever. They just nicked them or whatever. And we walked into this room, and I said to my parents, I must have only been about 13. I said, I've been here before. And they were like, no, you haven't. I'm like, no, I have. I've been here before. And I couldn't remember why, but I was like, in the next room, round the corner to the left, there's a Roman chariot. And then we went through this big room, through the doors, and there was a Roman chariot there. And my parents were just like, what the fuck? They were properly freaking out. And then I remembered a little later, it's because it was one of the levels in the original Rainbow Six. And it was, I didn't realise when I was playing Rainbow Six that it was based on a real world place.
Is that the first
But it
mission
was.
in Rainbow Six?
It might have been.
I hope you've explained that to them since then. 'cause
I have.
They may still be freaked
I was
out.
like, oh, yeah. But then there was another bit where I was in Italy and I was like, I've been here before. This is the Tower of Babel from Soleil on the Mega Drive. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
Of course it wasn't. The Tower of Babel is not a real thing. I know that now. I'm old enough. So
well.
what have you been playing this week, Steve?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing, because I've been working.
Scandal.
I'll tell you what I haven't been playing. Star Trek.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's that, Steve?
Yeah,
What's that?
I haven't been playing it because the people responsible for PRing it
I heard it was out in America, Steve.
have said that they don't have any copies. But
It's out in America, Steve.
I know.
We're
but-
being told for porkies, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I want to say this. I mean, it's one of these things where it's like, it's a game based on a licensed product, and it's coming out in very close proximity to a movie of the same licensed product. And what we've seen of the game so far in screenshots and videos makes it look slightly subpar, and now we haven't received copies.
Not a lot of
for
good signs
review. I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. People moan all the time about PRs not sending games out, and you know what? From a certain perspective, I just think, okay, well, it's not. I don't own the game. I didn't make the game. It's not mine to distribute as I wish. It's a bit sneaky, but I just wish they'd just say you can't have it. because of this. No, just don't lie and say, oh, well, we don't have any copies in. Just say, look, we're not coming out until here. We've got copies. We're just not selling them out. I'd be like, okay, because when you lie about it and say, oh, we might be getting them in and then that date shifts maybe or something like that, you're like, oh, well, maybe we will. And you're like, no, come on now, brain.
Yeah, especially when there are other people on your friends list playing it.
Oh, yeah, I love that. We've been told that nobody has it, and the people who are playing it must be, well, we don't know where they got it from. And it's like, well, you're basically saying that, like, quite a large swathe of games journalists are thieves, which is quite a strong message to throw out there. But yeah, I mean, basically, we haven't no Star Trek review on the site today. We may, if we manage to get our hands on a copy, we will make a video, an extended play of us basically playing it for a little bit, just to give you a gist. I mean, I've really got a bad feeling about this game, and I've had a bad feeling about it from day one. But we'll see. It might be really fun, and if it is, we'll let you know.
My favourite bit from the video was a bit of B-roll, wasn't it?
Oh, God, that was hilarious.
Didn't an alien take cover behind Spock?
Yeah.
And then the player character shot through Spock to shoot the alien.
And Spock didn't seem to be reacting.
He wasn't that bothered by
AI
it.
companion.
Hologram.
He wasn't reacting to either the player shooting at him or the enemy or anything.
That's just Spock, though, man.
And this was an official piece of footage released by an M.
There was very little we could do with it.
No, really?
No, seriously. We got the B-roll for this game we got given. Was one of the most shoddy bits of video I've ever seen. It was only because of the stipulations given with the B-roll saying we couldn't use it without an interview or something that I wasn't able to just openly put it on the internet and go, oh my God, look at this game is terrible. But I mean, the thing about B-roll is you spend a lot of time to make sure you get the shots right. They usually often touch it up a little bit with some post effects and all this stuff.
They must have just missed that one.
And it really says a lot when the kind of the best, it's like, oh, imagine like you're getting invited to a fancy do and you're going to receive a Nobel Prize and it's the biggest night of your life. And instead of getting dressed up in a suit, you just sort of like, I don't know, just go in with a hoodie and just some jeans and you're really drunk and you're kind of falling up the stairs and you just sort of go, hey, thanks for the prize. It's like, this is your moment to shine and you just can't even stand up. That's what the B-roll's like. So anyway, Star Trek. Well, unfortunately, we're not able to give you an opinion on the game. So all we've been able to do is comment on the marketing campaign. So
whose fault is that?
4
out of 10.
Mr. Dave, the scandal.
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 What have I been playing? Well, I've been playing a lot of racing games over the last few days because I went and drove a very fast car the other day and survived.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
It was a Christmas present I got, but one of those red letter day things that I finally used. So I drove a fast car, and then I was like...
Which car was it, Dave?
It was a Lamborghini. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Gallardo or Gallardo?
What colour was it?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Orange. Yeah.
Fast colour. Very fast colour.
I think it's only a proper Lamborghini if it's either orange or green. I read that somewhere.
Yellow.
I didn't crash it, and I hit about 95 miles an hour, so I thought, I'm clearly a professional driver. And maybe I should think about a career change. So to validate this idea, I took to Forza Motorsport, first of all. Thought, get back into this. And then I went to Need for Speed Shift.
Yeah, you do seem to be like quite the racing game aficionado.
I like races.
You dip into them quite often.
Yeah.
It's your fallback.
You've got a sporty car, haven't you, Dave, as well? Like a real kind of...
Well, it's a Ford Focus.
Yeah, but
I don't want to make it sound like more than it is.
It's one of those with the, the fucking...
It's got a spoiler on it.
Shooting match.
It's got a push-button start on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Bruce Wayne.
Electric windows, everything.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Does it have heated seats?
No, I don't think it has.
Come on now.
It's a heated windscreen.
Yeah. See ya.
Mum don't like it. It's got wave things in it.
My mum don't like my windscreen.
She says it's like looking through a spider's web. Like, don't drive it then, Mum. Anyway.
Get out of my car. Why don't you get out of my car? Why are you always in my car? Jesus.
Yeah, but Need for Speed Shift isn't exactly the most realistic race.
Do you reckon
I've ever played,
like driving games are your like comfort food genre?
Possibly. Yeah.
I think everyone has one of them, right?
Yeah, just sit there and... Well, I was saying about Dead Island the other day, like you just sit there and mong out, so you don't really care about what's going on.
Well,
would you say that Dead Island should have come with some drugs? Would you say Dead Island would have been a better game if the collector's edition had loads of spliffs in it?
It does seem like a game that's made for spliffs. If I'm being perfectly honest, it does seem like that kind of.
There's your box quote.
I'm not really capable of kind of much high level motor function, but I'm quite happy to just mindlessly repeat something indefinitely. So if you are a massive stoner, then Dead Island might be your game of the year.
GTA 3 was that game. a long time
Just
ago.
driving the car
I remember when
around.
I used to work at Game, and the amount of pre-owned copies we'd get that just had little bags in them. And in the afternoon, there was one time in the afternoon, this kid came back, he's like, can I buy back my copy of Grand Theft Auto? I'm like, sorry, mate, no. Then it's like this little bag.
Oh dear.
Dear.
I think I might have lost something.
Yeah.
Have you? No.
Can I just look in the box? No.
Just say, look, I've left my drugs in the box and I need them back, kind sir.
Yeah.
This is awkward, guys, but
Yeah.
drugs. Oh dear. Well, I think the problem with GTA 3, though, that you've nailed something there, and this is something I always thought at the time, is that it was like the way that Sony thought the PlayStation 2 was successful because it was so cool, and actually it was because it was a DVD player, and that's why they fluffed up the PS3 launch. I think the same thing kind of happened, and increasingly happens with Rockstar, where they're just like, Rockstar, yeah, everyone loves GTA because of the amazing story and the characters. And actually it's like, no, people like having a city that they can drive cool cars into policemen and kill prostitutes. And they don't really... Rockstar, I've kind of forgotten that. I thought in GTA 4 particularly, it was really hard to go on killing sprees. You got shut down really fast.
Yeah, definitely.
It was almost like the developers are trying to move away from that. But it's quite interesting because it's like that's how people want to play their games. And it's funny to see them publicly rallying against it and being like, no, stop it. Stop using our
Did GTA
games.
4 even have all the tanks and that? I'm not sure it did it?
No.
No. I know people who bought GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas, and the first thing they did was get the cheats. And that was their game.
Yeah,
and while I love GTA 4, and
It's very dry.
I think with GTA 4 you have to actually use this is not like putting anyone who doesn't like it down. I think you have to use a bit more of your own kind of gumption or whatever. It's like imagination to go on those sprees because you don't have the tools readily available.
Yeah.
However, I'm not saying that's necessarily a good or a bad thing. I think with the Ballad of Gay Tony, they really knew. I've heard some people refer to it as an apology for GTA 4. I don't think that's correct, but they got that shotgun now. That maybe that came in one of them. Whatever, the shotgun that just explodes cars, and you had the parachute, and the whole thing was a bit more kind of frivolous, and that's good. And I think with GTA 5, they'll be getting back to that.
It seems like Saints Row has been like infringing on that old territory for ages.
Oh, absolutely.
But maybe going too far with it and maybe actually alienating people.
No, from the crack house to the White House is the greatest slogan in video game.
Have you seen the America gun? I think it's called the America gun or the America weapon.
It's all the guns stuck together.
It's part of the pre-order pack.
Is it Fire Eagles?
No, there is a Flying Eagle jet, though.
Of course
in the
there
same
is.
pack.
Game of the year.
I think this guy has a minigun, a shotgun, an assault rifle, pistol, everything, just in the same
I think
weapon.
it is like the ultimate pre-order bonus, and the fact that I think that those pre-order bonuses for games are always just dog shit, personally. It's always like, hey, have a cool gun.
It's a fucking
cool
dog's
armor.
breakfast, mate.
Have all the guns
Whatever
stuck
they
together.
say in that Dead Island.
Yeah, I think that's, it's a fucking dog's breakfast. You're damn right it is. But no, the thing is, I slag off Dead Island, but actually, like, I probably, if I was in the right mental state, I'm not saying on drugs, I think I probably would enjoy it, because I reviewed, no, I didn't review it actually, but I previewed Kingdoms of Amalur, or Kingdoms of Kahlur, as I always call it, because I like drinking Kahlur. And I hated it. And I really didn't like it. I thought it was just empty, soulless,
That's
dull.
the same.
I thought it was
Everyone
just...
disagrees with
It
us.
was so, like, empty. It felt like a real massive hole full of nothing. And yet I then took it home and played for about 40 hours. Just because, and the whole time I was just like, this game is really bad. And I ended up reviewing all the DLC for it and being like, it's not very good. It's just
don't
really
understand why I'm
bad.
doing this.
And yeah, it just had that kind of comforting, repetitive, like, ugh, it's like being wrapped in a blanket.
The best part about that game, Kings of Amalur, was that they couldn't even spell the name of their own game right on their promo discs. It said Kingdom of Amalur. So it's like, brilliant, guys.
Well, I love
like,
the fact that the
come
game
on.
wasn't called Kingdoms of Amalur, it was called Reckoning. And
Yeah.
Kingdoms of Amalur was the setting.
Yeah.
And it was planned as part of a series. And it's just like, that's such a cocky way to start a series,
Yeah.
is be like, this is going to be a major franchise. It's like, well,
Episode 1. Oh dear.
Oh dear. My favourite bit in that actually was there was lots of stuff about it that was a bit poor. But my favourite thing was sometimes you meet characters that, like, quest givers who were dying, and the way it would illustrate that they were dying was that it would just have them standing there without any expression on their face, but with vast amounts of blood constantly spurting out of their neck. And you could just stand there on the menu, just mid-conversation, just watching pints and pints of blood spilling out of them, and nothing would happen, ever. until you finish the conversation, then they die. And it was just like, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Like, why didn't somebody go, yeah, but guys, is this not a bit of rubbish?
Yeah.
You're killing them, really, by ending that conversation.
Pretty much.
You've just...
That's actually
brutal.
the game. Well
It was
done,
just,
you've
they
worked
couldn't
out
even
the
be
game.
bothered to like have an animation of somebody going, oh, I'm not feeling very well.
Yeah.
They stood there like...
Even
This is
Resident
painful.
Evil did that. The original Resident Evil, when he found Enrico or whatever, and he was like, I'm dying, and then he died. He didn't just sit there for 2 hours pouring
out.
blood out of himself.
I think they spent most of the development time making the moustaches look cool. And I did appreciate that, but Kingdoms,
Needed just a
come
little bit more.
on. Anyway, anyone else been playing any games? I've been playing a lot of Luigi's Mansion 2.
Oh, have you?
Still on that?
It's, by all accounts, I haven't played it yet, but everyone I've spoken to says bloody brilliant.
It's game of the year.
Really? I've only played an hour or thereabouts. Sorry, I'm still
You're having a bit of a
this
problem,
mic
aren't
today.
I'll counterweight it, Dave.
Thank you very much,
This is
Steve.
gonna
This
go
is,
well.
this is glorious. I've only played about an hour, but I'm not feeling it.
How many missions did you do in that? Like a couple?
I'm still in the first.
You're a cynic,
mansion.
Dave.
Oh, so but have you done like, because each one's a little mission, right?
Yeah, I've done 3, maybe 4.
But you're not feeling it? I love it.
We did mention this last week, and you and Tom were talking about it takes a little bit of...
Well,
getting
I hadn't
into
played
because
it
of the
really at that
abilities.
point that much. Tom, I don't think. Maybe I had started playing it. But no, I really like it. Tom said it takes a little while to get going. I think the biggest problem I have with it is it's a massive contrast, because something else we played last week, was A Link to the Past, Zelda.
Right.
And it was such a contrast of having the start of Link to the Past, and me and Simon were playing it, and it just doesn't tell you anything. It's like, here's a lamp, go out into the rain, find the princess, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, here's a sword and shield. And then there's never even any explanation of what you're supposed to be doing. And even after that first bit, it's like, right, you're in the open world now, go nuts.
And it's
What
the
are you
same with
gonna
the
do?
original Luigi's Mansion.
Yep.
It's like, you've won a house, here you go.
And the problem I had with Luigi's Mansion 2 initially is the fact that you get given a DS,
Yeah.
which is like your phone. And that's a nice touch. But for the first mission or two, it's like every 10 seconds, it gives you a phone call to give you a bit of tutorial. It's like, you get to a door and it's like, oh, tutorial.
So
oh,
like GTA
and it's
4
just
then.
like, oh, it's so bad. It's just like, come on, let me work things out. Like,
Yeah.
at least use it so if I don't know what to do, clearly, then give me a call and tell me what to do. But it's just so charming. I love the way that Luigi is just... And most reviews have covered this, but I just love the way that Luigi clearly doesn't want to be there, and ranges between genuine like fear and just aggressively not wanting to be involved in what's happening to just like apathy of being like, oh, okay. And there's a wonderful moment at one point where it's like the first time it happens, he goes like, ah, and he really freaks out. And the second time it happens, he just sort of goes, oh, as if like,
I've done that.
oh, it's this again. Like, oh, I've just got to do it. And the sense that he doesn't really have any control over what's going on, and you're just sort of forcing him to go around doing stuff. And you realise he's got so much character, whereas Mario has none, apart from, I'm Mario!
Yippee!
But no, it's a
Not
brilliant. It's a brilliant game, I think. I mean, it's quite challenging as well. Like, it's not that difficult,
No.
but I like the way that all the puzzles are different, and sometimes it does make you feel clever for working out some of the puzzles. You're like,
Yeah. I got stumped on one bit. I can't remember what it was, but it was where there wasn't an obvious door into where you needed to get to. I was
Right.
just wandering around going, oh, what do I... And that was an instance like, you've held my hand
Yeah.
for like the last 45 minutes. Suddenly,
when I need you.
when I need you, I've
are you?
literally no idea what to do. But no, I'll give it, you know...
It's simple things I love. Like there's a bit where you walk into a dining room, and obviously with the Hoover you can suck curtains and clothes down from hooks, and basically anything cloth you can grab and pull
Yeah.
into your Hoover. And it's just this massive dining table with a tablecloth. And of course you sort of think, okay, grab the tablecloth and pull it in. And of course it does the thing of like everything wobbling slightly but nothing falling over. And it's like, you know it's going to happen, but it's just got so many like pleasant little bits, and it's one of those games that's so rich with like the little details where you can tell they've spent quite a bit of time making something that is literally like half-second payoff of being like, you're like this. And it's just made me smile a lot, and I've actually had a couple of moments where I've been sitting on the train and just actually laughing out loud because it's like, this is
You're
fun.
one of those guys.
Oh, I sing on public transport, man. I'm mental. I'm full on bonks.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
He-
Oh, anyway, can you whip out your news teets and give us
My
a look?
news tea, would you like to squeeze them lightly?
Absolutely. I think we'll just squeeze a couple of stories out if you can, Dave.
Oh, thank you very well. Lovely. No, I think the biggest story this week is probably the last remaining THQ IPs that got sold off to probably people that we had no idea that would buy them, basically.
Yeah, it's sort of like, was it the reason that these were the last ones because it was a bit like the dregs? Or
I don't know. It was Darksiders, it was Red Faction, Homeworld, things like that.
I suppose. I mean, most of those, apart from Homeworld, are things that haven't made money for a long time. So
maybe, and you know,
I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying they're bad.
Yeah,
they're good.
So Homeworld went to Gearbox, who's trying to work out what to do with it. I'm not sure what to think of that.
No
really.
one seems to be doing it.
I guess Timegate will have a great time with that, won't they?
I mean, they've said they're going to try and put the original 2 onto digital platforms. So I imagine that's, for the amount they paid for it, which wasn't very much, it was just over $1 million.
They'll probably make their money back just on
like digital sales.
Yeah.
So whether there'll ever be another Homeworld game again, I don't know.
But the thing is, Gearbox are a weird one in the fact that they clearly fancy themselves being a publisher. You can see it.
Yeah.
And they are a publisher, technically, but they want to be a bigger one.
Yeah, it's like they want to be some sort of like media company.
As a studio, they've clearly got ambitions above just developing games. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do actually end up with Homeworld reaching out to a smaller studio that specialises in that type of game and getting them to develop it and then publishing it, especially digitally. I hope that's what they do anyway, because I don't think they've got the right experience to make a game.
First-person shooters, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a similar thing to what Nordic games seem to be doing with Darksiders. Nordic bought Darksiders, Red Faction, Destroy.
They haven't got them. I mean, I don't know a lot about Nordic games, but they haven't got the money to make.
Well, they haven't got any
new
development
games.
teams, apparently. They're just a publisher. So yeah, they're trying to look at what to do with Darksiders. I read a story yesterday suggesting they might be trying to tap up Crytek USA to do a Darksiders sequel, who were ex-Vigil guys who made the original.
I mean, that could work, I suppose.
Possibly.
I don't know. I mean, Darksiders is a really weird one. It's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I think actually with direction, Darksiders could be good. I think what really looked weak with Darksiders 2 for me was the lack of direction. It felt like the first game was quite a simple proposition. It was like, we're going to make a Zelda game. But it's not going to be called Zelda because we can't do that. But because of that, we can make it really dark. And basically, everyone had wanted a dark Zelda game for years. And Darksiders was that.
Yeah.
And then Darksiders 2, they kind
didn't
of
know
went...
how to add to it, really.
Well, they just thought, well, let's make all the cool
things from everything else. Like there's a bit from Shadow of the Colossus in there.
And I don't think they did it in a cynical way. I think they just thought, let's put cool stuff in.
Yeah.
But the way they added like the RPG items and progression, it felt messy. It felt like Darksiders was so simple. It's like, this is a Zelda game with God of War style combat. Bam, that's an elevator pitch. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like, this is a mishmash of lots of things that hardcore gamers like. And I just think...
There's big shooting sections as well. When you had the kind of gun thing. It's just... I played the first game for... I tried to get through this, opening, but that opening did seem to go on for about 16 days. And then everything I saw, it just takes so long to get going. I was like, I'm bored now. And I think I agree with what he's saying, especially Darksiders 2. It's like, I haven't played it, but sitting next to the guy who was reviewing it, just kind of watching it for a few hours, like, this looks really dull.
I really like the opening to Darksiders 2, and for a while I was convinced it's going to be great.
But I think maybe it's too big.
I think it's too big again. It's like there are 4 massive worlds. I'm like, I'm not going to see more than one.
2 would be good. You know, it's like Far Cry 2. When I was like, this game is massive, and then I turned and went down to the bottom of the map, and there was the same size map again, and that's when I ejected the game and went, I'm not playing anymore.
It does take a special kind of game to do that. Like, I remember, again, Link to the Past, which me and Simon did a kind of extended play on, was like, I remember the bit where you discover the Dark World and that. You just went, oh, what? This is amazing. There's another version of this whole world to explore. And that was like, no, that's so cool. And yet, most modern games now, if it was like, oh no, you're in Reverso World, I'd just be like, fuck off. I'm not playing this anymore. Like, but case in point actually was Devil May Cry 4, where it was just like,
oh yeah,
hey, you're halfway through the game. Now as a special treat, why not play the same game again in a slightly different order with Dante? At which point I thought, oh, jog on.
It has to be a really special game to...
I've been in so many arguments with Devil May Cry fans because I like the new DMC game, and the hate you get for liking the new DMC game is stunning, but also the fact that most of these guys defend against saying that it's because Devil May Cry 4 was the best game in the series. And it's like, if you think Devil May Cry 4 is one of the best games in the series, or even if you think it's a great game, then you are wrong in your head.
That's super bollocks. There's only two good Capcom developed DMC games.
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Done.
Just like Metal Gear Solid.
Horrid.
The only game that one of the games that I've played that I realised I thought the game was coming to an end, and then there was quite a bit more of it, and I was actually happy, was Resident Evil 3. And so I got it kind of imported from America or whatever, and wasn't that old, I don't think. And I got to when you fight Nemesis in the clock tower. Well, you're just about to. Chopper comes in, and it's just like an end of game FMV. And I was like, bloody good game that. Really enjoyed that. And then he shoots it down, and I was like, yes, all right then, brilliant.
There's nothing worse though than when you're playing a game and it's giving you all the signals and it's about to open up or something.
Yeah, then it goes.
Oh god, I can't think of a game like that to hand. But the bits where you think it's going to open up, it's going to open
Halo
up.
2's ending is probably
Halo 2 is
take the fight to them. In the next game.
My housemate was a huge Halo fan, and he got it on night of release sort of thing. And the next day, I came back, when I was at uni, I came back from my lecture, sat in his room, and it had that ending cutscene, and he was like, yes, right, let's do this. And it ended, and there was silence for what seemed like hours, probably only about 10 seconds. And he went, what a load of fucking bollocks, threw the pad and stormed out. I was like...
Amazing.
My experience with Halo 2 was mental, because I hadn't played the first game, and so I just played it split screen with another guy, and I was just like, yeah, it's quite fun. It was just shooting funny little aliens, and it was like, I didn't. The cutscenes, but towards the end we were just skipping them all, because it was just like, what is this nonsense? And I realised now in retrospect that it was like, they focused on the wrong thing. They fell so in love with the grand orchestral score that they started trying to make an epic storyline. When the first Halo game, I went back and played it in the CE, the kind of the bet edition they did, and it's like, this is just a fun sci-fi shooter, and it's really tongue-in-cheek, and it's really absolutely. Like, it's funny. It's a funny game.
Those little alien dwarfs. Yeah. They're not meant to be serious.
Then they left all of the silly stuff and made it this sort of like, macho. And I guess that appeals to if you're a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, but it has worked for them, hasn't it? That's how you sell a ridiculous number of copies.
It's true, and they made a lot of money. But I just love the idea that people take the Halo story seriously, and they do, because I went to a Halo Fest a couple of years ago, which was a big thing at PAX that they did to celebrate the upcoming release of Halo 4 and all this stuff. And it was just mental being in a room with people who were like the biggest Halo fans in the world. And they were just like, clearly the story and the characters meant so much to them.
Halo 4 storyline, you can't even keep up with unless you've read the kind of material that goes along with it.
Yeah, I bet.
And that's one of the worst.
I hate that shit.
It has one of the worst lead characters in any game ever.
What, Master Chief? Yeah. Hey, Mr. Chef, what's your favourite car? The Warthog.
Oh, there's nothing to him, is there? There's no personalities, nothing.
Well,
Halo 4, maybe they tried to get around that. But
I actually was at Halo Fest with ex-VG guy Martin Gaston, and it was just me and him sitting through about 12 hours of Halo-based lectures every day, slowly going insane and making each other chuckle. But every time there was a Q&A session, and we never did, we never had the balls to do it, but we were always wanted to stand up and say, what's your favourite Master Chief? I like the green one. and it was amazing, because every time anyone stood up for the questions, it was like they had these people lining up to ask the dev team a question, and every time most of the questions was, I love Halo, and everyone would give a round of applause, and then they'd be like
it's AA or something,
and that was it. And then they wouldn't really have a question after that. They'd just go, is it fun to make Halo games?
But Halo's genius.
I've got a question. I love Halo.
They'll be like me taking Resident Evil story seriously, and Halo's genius was in its combat, was in its gameplay, and the way that it put action sequences together. It's so good, and I don't actually personally really enjoy playing the series because that the whole setup's not right for me. I don't really enjoy it, but if you just broke it down into gameplay, it's so good, especially like the kind of first and second games essentially. And then now it's all about Master Chief will return, and you're like, why? He's just a fucking bloke in a green helmet thing.
I didn't get the appeal of the Master Chief until
because he was massive and he could.
No, until I played the first one. When I played the remake of the first game, they brought on Xbox last year or whatever, and just feeling the way he handled, you did get the sense of you being like 8 foot tall and moving like
or the melee, where it's kind of like a little delay before it goes boom.
It's just like, you feel like a badass, and they haven't really managed to replicate that in any of the games since as well. And maybe because they made it a bit more light and hoppy and a bit more kind of suitable for the FPS crowd, but for the first game, it's just like, I am an unstoppable tank. You feel like
and a slow but unstoppable tank.
And you take so much damage as well. It's just like you're just walking towards them all, gunning you down. You're like, you're all going to die.
Robocop mode.
It's Robocop. It really is. But so Red Faction's probably the most exciting out of the three. Going back to the THQ stuff,
Yeah.
I think. What do you reckon?
Nice switch.
I really want a Full Spectrum Warrior game.
No, Dave.
I really, really want a Full Spectrum Warrior game.
No,
please.
you can't. Listen, I've got a big problem with Full Spectrum Warrior, and I've been banging on about this in the office. And the reason is because...
Talking nonsense.
No, I'm talking nonsense. Okay, right. I cannot follow a series that was allowed to have the subtitle 10 Hammers. I'm sorry. Who went, right, guys?
Really?
We've got this game coming out. It's a sequel to Full Spectrum Warrior. Good, that did well. It's called Full Spectrum Warrior 2. No. Let's just call it Full Spectrum Warrior 10 Hammers. And someone went, that's a very good idea. And you're like, that is the worst subtitle.
Someone at THQ.
Yeah, exactly.
And where are they now?
What's the sequel to Full Spectrum Warrior? 10 Hammers going to be called 12
10
Hammers
2.
10 Hammers 2. You
Stop.
know,
Hammer time.
exactly. But I like FSW. I think.
To be honest,
I think
it would have
it's a
been
good
better if
game.
it was called Hammer Time, I think.
Oh,
Full Spectrum Warrior, Hammer Time.
See, that's actually better.
It's
Didn't
amazing.
take much though.
The
It's
first
just
game
like
was very
XCOM.
good. The first game was very good, and I think, with the current vogue for military shooters and all of that, I think it would do quite well as long as they market it like you actually pull the trigger.
I am so bored of shooting things. Honestly, you could give me something to shoot now and I just
Commie.
whatever.
You didn't pull the trigger, did you, in Full Spectrum
No,
Warrior?
you just
yeah.
you set up your fire teams and then you
No,
kind
it's
of
like, go.
Yeah, you pin some
It
movements.
was what I kind of wanted Brothers in Arms to be.
That was what Rainbow Six was like for me, anyway, because I was not very good at the shooting bits, and so whenever I got involved in gunfights in Rainbow Six, I'd get killed and fail the mission.
back when it was bastard hard, right?
So,
Back when
yeah.
it was about as a maths exam.
So
Rainbow
every
Six.
single game, every single level in Rainbow Six was me basically walking around on my own to scope out the level a little bit, and then making immaculate plans with different groups doing something. Then I just stand at the start of the level and just go button, and they break through the doors and they kill everyone. And then I won.
In the latest Ghost Recon, I just used to get the quadricopter, fly around, mark everyone, and that'd be it. Like, let the squad just kill
I've done my
things.
work.
Yeah. I'm good. Go on,
It's quite
guys.
satisfying though, I think.
Yeah, no,
It's been a while since I played Full Spectrum Warrior, but I think the difference between that and Rainbow Six maybe was Rainbow Six was all about planning and getting it right the first time, whereas I think Full Spectrum Warrior is more about the response. It's like, okay, you're in this situation now,
Yeah.
and you're being surrounded. How are you going to get
Anticipation
out?
versus reaction, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really gutted that fucking Deep Silver have got Saints Row. And because the problem is that means they've got Saints Row and they've kind of probably got the studio. Well, they don't really own the studio, but they're going to be working with them for some time, and they're probably going to have them just working on that. And I think it's a great shame.
Suits them though, doesn't it?
Because I don't know, I much prefer Red Faction. I was so gutted when they
Guerrilla,
killed Red
yeah.
Faction. Red Faction Guerrilla is one of my favourite
The
open
big
world
bridge.
games.
What's it called? Something begins with H. The bridge you can just knock down piece by piece. You
Yeah.
get your little hammer.
And also, it's just,
Just
one
one hammer
having
time.
like,
Not 10.
Red Faction Hammer Time.
or having like that rifle that could dematerialize bits of stuff, and just having this massive bridge and looking at it and going and taking out like 3 or 4 little bits, but knowing it was like the reverse of Bridge Builder.
Yes, Bridge Project.
Bridge Project, yeah. And and then just watching this huge thing slowly creak and fall. And they spent so long on that engine, that destruction
Yeah,
engine.
mad.
And it was so cool. And then they used it in that one game, and it was like, you know what? It wasn't a perfect game. The story was balls, the characters were rubbish, and some of the emphasis on shooting missions was bad. And actually, my favourite thing in the game were the challenges, where you had to it's like destroy this building with 6 mines, and you had to really like think about how to do it. And I'm gutted because it kind of looks like I don't think Nordic Games are going to make any more games really with some of that stuff. I think it's more likely they'll just make money
It's
off
legacy sales, I think.
Yeah, make money off long
Who
term
owns
stuff.
the Geomod tech? Is it Volition?
I don't know.
Because I interviewed the guy who came up with that tech when I went to see them, to see Red Faction Armageddon, which we won't speak anymore. But and he was just frighteningly intelligent. He looked like a young John Carmack. He had that kind of steely look in his eyes that just said, worthless. Just like, he's like, you don't know anything. And he's just like,
You write about games, do you?
yeah. He's just like,
I code science.
I built an entire world in this disc, and you can't even work out which version of Yor to use. Out. But no, and I just I hope my dream is a Saints Row game with that destruction.
Oh, that would
so I'm
be
hoping
awesome.
that they've got it, and it doesn't just go to Nordic Games.
It was just perfect because I mean Mars as an environment as well. Like it makes sense to have kind of this sparse, empty environment that isn't too system intensive, and then have these mad structures that pop up, and just destroying those buildings. So much fun. I loved having situations where I had a couple of things where I was in a gunfight because the fighting was quite hard. You get killed quite easily, which meant you had to use cover and had to think smart. And I had a couple of things where I let whole squads of dudes chasing me inside a building as I run through, chucking mines on key pillars. And instead of turning around and shooting, it was still like precision shooting, but it was shooting with like mines. And then running up the stairs and putting some more down, and then getting a rocket launcher and basically like demolishing the whole building and then flying through the roof with a jetpack, watching as the building collapsed and killed everyone in it. And it's just like, this game is amazing.
Yeah, let's all go home and play it now.
But then THQ made the biggest fucking mistake ever.
COD money. I want for the COD money.
Releasing Armageddon and going, let's not make Guerrilla 2, let's make a shooty game that's not really like the Guerrilla. And then when that came out and didn't sell because it was boring B-grade shite, they went, oh, no one likes Red Faction, can it? And just kill the franchise.
Yeah,
it's like,
so poor.
If I could go back in time and just say, no, do Guerrilla 2 or Guerrilla 10 Hammers, which would make sense in Red Faction,
sense.
Then I think the world could be a brighter place.
Yeah, while I was there, they were speaking to them about Armageddon. I was thinking, you know, when you guys must know, you've been out somewhere and they're obviously working hard on this thing. You know, they're working long hours because that's what video game development is essentially. And I could see that they were just a little bit defeated by it. I mean, they were talking up and giving it the kind of the big smiles, but I thought, at one point, I just wanted Jim Boone, the chap, who's like one of the big guys. I just want to go, Jim, shh, and give him a big hug and go, it's not going to be okay, but I'll be behind you all the time on this one.
I think it was
oh yeah, and it felt like they had Saints Row stuff on the wall. Yeah. They were quickly pulling down as people were coming around, and it felt like they just wanted to get Armageddon.
But I wonder what they prefer working on. I wonder if they did enjoy doing guerrilla stuff more than Red Faction, no, more than Saints Row. And I guess we'll never really know officially. But I wonder what the general vibe at the studio was.
Yeah, I think they loved Red Faction because it was kind of that game that pushed them up. Because they did Descent as well, I think. But Red Faction on PS2 I bought that day one. And I was so excited about the geomod.
Down the walls.
Oh, why have a key when you've got infinite keys in your rocket launcher? Yeah. You know? And it didn't quite work out, but it was still very cool. And then they openly admitted while I was there that Red Faction 2 wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And I think from that experience, they were like, right, well, we've got to do something we actually want to do now.
I think in my mind, Red Faction Armageddon will be remembered as a real turning point in a bad way for the industry. I think it was a bit of a zeitgeist thing. It was just like, it was the point at which we started to all go, why have all these games got this sort of the same game feel? And that's continued. I think actually Andy Kelly at that point started, who's an awesome game journalist, who does brilliant stuff on Twitter. You should follow him. He's called @UltraBrilliant. But he started up a kind of blog which was Bold Space Marine guessing game, and it was just like lots and lots of Bold Space Marines. It's like, can you name the games they're all in? And it's just like highlighting the fact that so many main characters in games are just these gruff, bold dudes. And I think that was the one that pushed him over the edge. It was just like, why does games need another gruff, bald dude? Like,
well, it seems, and I think it comes back to what you said earlier, Matt, that it's another one of those things, like you say about Rockstar. It's they took the element of the game, the primary element of the game, which is so good and what got people in, and made it secondary to the zeitgeist at the time, and you just crush it in that way. I'm not saying that Rockstar did it anywhere near as bad, but I see why people say that about GTA, because the watchword for Grand Theft Auto has always been fun, and although I found GTA 4 to be fucking loads of fun, a lot of people were like, where's the flamethrower, where's the tank, where's the katana, where's the jetpack, where's the jet?
Keep ringing me?
You know, and now you've got phone calls from your bloody mistress moaning at you. You want to go bowling. You can't fly anything really apart from some choppers. So it seems like they, you know, especially with Armageddon, they're like, this destruction engine's amazing. Let's put it in 2 rooms. All right, done.
It says a lot that my favourite thing about GTA 4 was the mod where people made it so you could be an elephant. And I mean, I think that's amazing. Just watching videos of an elephant driving a sports car into stuff, it's just like... And another one where you can be a horse. I think it's what's called the Super Pony. Oh, if you remember what it is... What's the name?
Oh, no, I know which one you're talking about.
It's like something Kins. And again, if you remember, then please post a comment
as well,
on either the website
like Tokyo Jungle.
Ooh.
Great game, Tokyo Jungle.
I really want to play that.
Not played it yet.
Have you not played Tokyo Jungle?
Not yet, no.
It's like SOS The Final Escape meets Metal Gear meets Animals.
Oh.
Yeah, it's so good.
Isn't it like it's the apocalypse and all the humans are dead, so it's just animals fighting in Tokyo?
Yeah,
but
it's brilliant.
It's like all sorts of animals.
It's the best survival horror game in years. It's honestly, it's so good.
Box quotes are plenty today. If you want any of these quotes to appear on your boxes, then call now. It's a pound a quote.
Ooh, more than usual.
Yes, one full pound, please. No more, no less. That's a joke, by the way. There's never any money involved with any of that stuff. Not that anyone really care. So, other news, probably Ratchet and Clank movies, big for me, I think.
Yeah. Well, you're a big fan of Ratchet and Clank, aren't you?
I am.
And you love movies, don't you?
No.
Oh.
Ratchet and Clank TV show.
No. Oh, yeah, produced by AMC.
Yeah. Oh,
Gritty.
John Hamm.
Ratchet is a thorax.
Sure.
Something like that. But no, I don't know much about it, other than it's out in like 2 years' time.
Yeah, you guys don't seem that excited.
I'm not excited about it.
Me and Chris are excited. You're excited, right?
I think it looks brilliant. I love the trailer for it as well.
Yeah,
they're kind of
I like
playing
the
with the fact that the animators are messing around with them whilst they're doing it. I think it looks good.
Well, they've always been good at breaking the kind of fourth wall in the games.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, I realised that as I kept playing them, that I was really just playing them for the story and the cutscenes, because the characters are awesome. Quark is an amazing character.
Quark is great.
And the first game had some of the best cutscenes, like genuinely laugh out loud stuff. And even I think it might be good for a film is that animated films like that are only as good as their ideas. And actually, what Ratchet and Clank did best was the ideas.
Yeah.
And what I loved was getting a new gun and being like, what the hell does this do? And the upgrades weren't just like, I mean, it's like, what game were we slagging off recently for the upgrades?
Not being very... Was it Army of Two? Not being very imaginative?
I think, yeah, kind of... no, I can't remember. It might be Tomb Raider, actually. No, Bioshock Infinite.
Bioshock.
That's the one. The upgrades,
all games.
most games. But Bioshock Infinite was particularly uninventive when it was like, plus 25 damage to your pistol damage.
Yeah.
And in Ratchet and Clank, it was like, it was no mental. I remember there were ones like, so when the grenades explode, it causes a mini nuclear explosion or something. Like, it was just like, you really, when you upgraded it, you'd have this little sequence where it would spin it round and turn it into something new. And the change often would be so drastic.
Yeah.
It would never be like, oh, that's not what I want anymore. It would still be the same thing.
Yeah.
But they'd just be silly. Like you end up having like robotic spiders that you could remote control that had sniper rifles attached to them and stuff.
Like Armed and Dangerous, where you could fire the shark out through the floor. And
Pretty much. I think the best game in the original Ratchet and Clank was called the Rhino. Did you ever get that far?
Yeah.
It cost so much money. It cost like 2 million bolts. And to get it, you had to have a New Game Plus. Like, you pretty much had to complete the game and then play about halfway through the game again, which actually ended up being a lot of fun because it was such a good game. But then when you had enough money, you'd buy it. And it was just a rocket launcher that had like loads of ammo. And every time you pulled the trigger, you used one bit of ammo. It would fire 50 tiny rockets, which would launch into the sky and spiral around like mad. And then just home down on everything.
That is Ratchet and Clank just described, isn't it?
It was literally just
weapon.
like, you just fire it into the air and go dunk, and then you'd kill like half the enemies in the level. And it was just so ludicrously overpowered. But it was sort of like, yeah, it was worth it just to spend 10 hours grinding just so you could have that massive smile on your face.
Well, they've got Fuse next, haven't they?
I'm really worried about Fuse, but...
Are you?
Yeah, I'm really worried about Fuse.
I think the weapons stuff could be quite cool.
I think Fuse actually looks like a really good game. No, that's wrong. I think Fuse looks like a really boring game. But I think Fuse is a really good game because I thought it was dull and I was like, what is this? But then I started playing it and the way it works with the co-op is really strong. I love the way that basically when you're fighting these massive robot mechs that move towards you, you're like pummeling them with ammo and you feel like you're doing nothing and you're doing like no damage because their weak points are off on their back and stuff. But it's not just like, but if I shoot them enough, they'll die. You really feel like these things are coming towards you. And even just hitting a weak point doesn't do that much damage, but it might like make them flinch for a second, which might give your buddy a chance to get away. So you really have that sense of playing co-op of being like, guys, because it's not slowing down and you can't slow it down and you need them to help you. Otherwise you're going to die.
And there's all the different types, all the different characters have their own stuff. Then it says the one with the big shield.
Yeah.
And you can hide behind that shield while you can shoot through the shield, but bullets can't come back through
it's
it.
Great.
So you all work together. What do they call it? Co-petitive or something silly like that?
This is the problem with this game is I think that the way they're trying to communicate about it is they're using the same bullshit technique as they do with all big games. And it works for big games because they're big games. But with a game like this, they're just saying, oh, here are the bullet points about why this game's cool. And they're making up phrases like they've got their own term for horde mode. And it's like, oh no, it's not horde mode. It's
echelon mode.
Echelon mode, yeah. And you're just like, guys, this shit does not work anymore. When you've got a game like this, you need to just be like, this is actually interesting because of this, and not having a list of features.
This is not why it's the same. I mean, that just seems like, You know,
From a distance, it looks like a rubbish version of Gears of War, and it's not. It's more interesting than that.
I had a lot more fun with it than I expected.
Yeah, precisely. It looks bad, but it's not.
I'm excited because you're excited.
I think it's going to be
so
good.
excited. Just for some context,
Unfortunately,
Matt will not stop going on about Fuse, and that's fine. Everyone needs their, champion a game. If you think it's wrong, if you think it's being marketed wrong, people won't play it. Fucking get behind it.
I think the Fuse is going to
be
I hate to say this, but I think Fuse is going to be the binary domain of this year. In the fact that I think it's going to review really well. And I think reviewers are going to actually come away from it being like, actually, this is really good. But I think it's going to sell appallingly because of the fact that the marketing EA, they're not doing anything interesting with it, and they're certainly not willing to get press involved in the process in a meaningful way. And I think that these days, just having some preview write-ups of it going, it looks quite good, does not cut it. We need to work with them if they want us to help promote their good products. But they're going to learn that the hard way, because Fuse is probably screwed. Anyway, we've got some time for some questions.
We have indeed.
Let's do it.
These are mainly from Twitter, I think. Let's see what we're going. Matthew Nellis actually turned up on Twitter with the
Thought
question.
He was dead.
Nellis? He's dead.
Yep.
I've been telling everyone he's dead.
Well, apparently not. Or someone's got hold of his Twitter details
Dave,
anyway.
I paid you 10 grand.
Yeah.
I did, bury it.
And he's got.
Oh my God.
He's got an unbelievably important question for you guys.
Not a lot I can do, man. I'm worried now.
You can only, you can only ever wear one of these two items for the rest of your life. And think about that.
Yeah.
Socks or shoes
Ooh.
for the rest of your life. Shoes provide,
Shoes.
more colour, but can you get a comfortable enough pair of shoes for that?
Are you
situation?
joking? Shoes.
Shoes, yeah.
Fool.
That's
Shoes.
ridiculous.
As long as
question.
it's not the same pair of shoes.
What about sock shoes?
No.
Should anyone ever wear sock shoes?
Well, they do,
what are
don't they?
They
Like there's really like weird black things that
are just sock shoes.
They look like sort of wetsuit material, like that kind of lycra type stuff.
Oh, I know. Yes.
The combination of the two.
Shoes all the way.
Like what?
I'd go shoes if you can include slippers within that.
See, you can.
variety.
Technically, shoes.
You reckon so?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd go shoes. What if you step on a nail while you're in your socks?
Exactly.
You're out
Like
walking
Home
down
Alone or something.
Croydon High Street and you step on something untoward, like a needle,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Or a
God.
dead
Many of them on
baby.
Croydon
Now
High
I've got
Street.
the AIDS.
Whoa.
Great. Why wasn't I wearing shoes? I'm an idiot.
Oh.
Shoes could save your life.
And also, like, shoes are very versatile now. Like, is it Tom's, the brand of shoes that are really comfortable? You can wear them with, like, just no socks.
Exactly.
I see chavs wearing shoes with no socks all
You
the
wear
time.
boat
Well, you
shoes
guys
with
gonna-
no socks.
Yeah.
You guys are going to have some smelly shoes.
I've never understood the
That's
point of
all.
slippers, though.
You've never...
Always been a bit of an anomaly
like someone's
for
hooking
me.
your feet.
Do you have carpets in your house?
Yeah.
That's why. Because slippers are awesome if you have like a lot of floor in your house that's like either lino or wood.
Right.
Because in the winter it gets really cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you need that protection when you're going down to have a nice cup of tea.
Really?
Yeah,
drafty
absolutely.
feet.
You don't know, man. You weren't there.
Your world is so comfortable, Dave.
Don't want chilly toes. That's all I know.
Should we get something vaguely gaming related? Do you reckon?
Whatever,
reckon
really.
So?
Who cares?
Okay then. What's the deal with aeroplane food?
What's the deal with aeroplane?
Dave.
What is the deal with
That's a
aeroplane
question
food?
for
Why
Ryan
is it-
Gaston, isn't it?
Yes.
That's his question all the time. He
Isn't
asks that all the time.
Seinfeld.
Why? Yeah.
It
I
is.
don't hate aeroplane food as much as
what is
everyone
the
else
deal with
seems
aeroplane
to.
food?
Isn't
Why does
there-
it have to be? It is pretty gross.
But
No,
isn't
it's
there
not,
a reason
it's not.
for it? Isn't there the reason that the pressurization
Yeah.
has an effect on you?
Taste buds.
But surely
So-
they can do something.
I'll tell you what the deal with
Just
aeroplane
drink
food
on
is.
there.
These days, it's actually really good. I've been on loads of flights, and in the past couple of years, it's brilliant.
When I look back from first class into the other ones, that was awful.
Oh, yeah.
These people
And
are
drink
sitting
your whiskey.
together.
Business class is great. I flew business class once. Sorry, I had a flashback of the fact that I was so drunk on business class. They give you proper
Champagne, sir?
cutlery. Yeah, they filled me with champagne. It was like a petrol pump going into my mouth. It was basically like, more champagne, sir, more
Were
champagne.
you with the England team by any chance?
I'd already necked a large glass of whiskey in the lounge, because you get to go into a
Yeah,
lounge.
VIP lounge, isn't it?
And it's got so much booze, you can just have whatever you want. It's like
Oh my
pour your
God.
own drinks. So I was blasted. But then when I inevitably smashed my champagne glass because I was so drunk on the plane, they came over and said, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Lee." It's
Yeah.
like, don't apologise. This is my fault. I'm a
bringing
terrible
me
human.
more.
Also the fact they know your name.
Yeah.
You know when they check your tickets when you go on a plane, right? The reason they check your ticket when you step onto the plane must be for this, is the fact that if you're in economy, they just go, down on the left. If you're in business or first, then they look at your ticket and they say, just down the left, Mr. Lees. They say your name.
That's what you're paying for.
Ridiculous.
That's what you're paying for.
Turning
right there.
left on a plane is cool.
And for that, it only costs about another grand each way.
Yeah, that's fine though. That's fine with all the, as you know, David Jaffe was like, we're all making 125 grand, so what's the,
Wait, what?
Exactly. I picked up the keys to a Lambo last week.
There you
Done.
Bosh.
Yeah.
There's
Dave's
Don't know what
lifestyle.
people are moaning at. You're going to start lifestyle blogging soon, aren't you, really?
Oh, yeah.
All the celeb pics of Dave.
Yeah. Me hanging out with Victoria Beckham.
getting papped.
Yeah.
That's when you can use the name Dave Scandal Scammell. That is the perfect point for it, because you can celebrity scandal. That's your future.
Aren't you a guesting on the Kardashians? At Home with the Kardashians or
No
whatever?
idea. I'm definitely a believer, though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
He couldn't leave her if he tried.
Have you guys been on the staff page, by the way?
Not yet, no.
Oh, I have. It's amazing, but I hate my photo.
It's fantastic. I think everyone does.
We've got a brand new staff page, haven't we? But I haven't seen it yet.
Well, when you hover over, it's worth checking out.
I know that when you hover over people's faces, their faces change.
Yeah.
I don't know what my face does yet, so don't spoil the surprise for me.
Okay.
Hopefully it's Postman Pat, though, because I am like a cross between Postman Pat and Jeremy Paxman.
Well, that's not what you've got, unfortunately.
No, probably
sorry,
not,
man. Actually, this refers to you in particular, Matt. How do you get your hair so fluffy? Asks Miss Frozen, :3.
Practice.
Practice?
Yeah.
Fluffing practice.
That's just
Good
practice.
stuff.
You just got to work hard at it.
And I feel like we need to have at least one gaming question.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's got to be done. Microsoft silence when it comes to the Xbox. How costly is that going to prove?
Not
You guys
very.
reckon?
Not costly at all.
Not costly at all.
You think as soon as the
As soon
big
as they
announcement
announce
comes
it, everyone's
out-
going to go, yes! Because there's no void in video games, right? Stuff has to be filled. There has to be news, there has to be speculation, there has to be rumour, there has to be bullshit, frankly. And why not fill the space if you're like, oh, well, because people always assume the worst, and they will assume the worst until on May 21st or whenever, Microsoft go, hey, this is the new Xbox, and everyone's pants just explode.
They're in a great position. I mean, basically, like Sony have come out first, which seems good now, but it means that they've had like months to basically. They probably already knew what they were doing anyway, but it means they've had months to now go, oh, okay, and they can make sure that when they come out, what they've got on offer looks more exciting.
You know what? You know why Battlefield hasn't been announced for next gen, or why FIFA hasn't been announced for next gen? Because I guarantee you, they're going to come out next month, and then they're going to go, here's Call of Duty on the next Xbox, here's Battlefield on the next Xbox, here's FIFA on the next Xbox, and Sony's got fucking Knack and Drive Club, and they're going to be like, what console do you want? And obviously,
if they just said that, if that was them, and Sony's got Knack and fucking Drive Club.
and I know everyone knows the games are going to come out on both consoles, but it's perception.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
is perception. And also, they're going to dominate E3 with it. So, I mean, that's the big thing. Is it's like, Nintendo's not going to have anything big to talk about. Sony are going to be able to go, this is what it looks like. And they'll show us the final mock-up of what the console looks like. But Xbox are all going to be like, Xbox.
Microsoft, it wouldn't surprise me if Microsoft have just money-hatted a lot of people like they did with GTA before and did with Call of Duty this generation.
That's what I mean, like the EA stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's happening there
EA,
at all.
here's 500 million. Fucking have it.
I don't think it's going to be a better console, but yeah, they're fine. The silence is not a problem at all. A lot of people seem to think that somehow that it's a PR boo-boo by not saying anything, but it doesn't make
There's nothing they can do.
difference.
They're not just going to come out and alter their plans and announce the Xbox because there's people on a forum.
And also,
moaning
like,
about-
it doesn't matter because for people like us, we are just hitting F5 on the internet constantly, and we'll hear about it whenever. Really, for a company like Microsoft now, the Xbox, it's all about getting that consumer hit, and that's why Sony came out earlier, because actually Sony are trying to appeal to the hardcore gamers more because they lost them, and they know that they probably can't compete with Microsoft on a consumer level in the same way anymore. And Microsoft are all about E3 because every year at E3, and this will happen again this year, people go, oh, those conferences were so bad. It was all casual stuff. And it's because E3 is a big industry thing.
Yeah,
and it means that it's the only time when they actually manage to communicate to the consumer press. And people forget that. And it's basically, it's a big enough event that US media of all types will go, we're here at E3. And the big thing is X. And they'll have a 5-minute news story on one thing.
The BBC will be there.
Yeah,
as usual.
and it will all be Xbox. It will be the new Xbox. And
it's fun to take the piss out of, who was it, the singer? Usher. It's fun to take the piss out of Usher being on their stage. He
does the job.
What was in the newspapers the next day? Usher.
Yeah.
So when Sony, was it E3 2009 or 8, when they had Microsoft have the Beatles, or the remaining Beatles, come on to speak about Beatles Rock Band, and they had loads of people come on and talk, Peter Molyneux and everyone talking about Milo and Kate, and then Sony followed it with 2 R&D guys who looked with Move in their hands, who looked like they were undergrads, and they looked terrified
With the light thing.
They were like, "This is the light," and everyone was like, "Fuck I feel so sorry for you boys. But it's perception. And most of had that big party beforehand with was Lady Gaga. Eminem was there.
Oh, God.
Everyone's like, oh,
That was the Activision thing, though, wasn't it, Eminem?
Yeah, that was Activision.
Oh well, same thing. Dialing into the same consumer thing.
Microsoft did do one for Kinect, didn't
That
with
was
the
ludicrous,
weird suit thing people had to wear.
Yeah, sorry, that was what I was
Activision
thinking.
show was mental. It
I
was
don't know
literally
anything about it.
Look at how much money we've got. It was just a pop concert. It was just like a ridiculous. I wasn't there, but just looking at the lineup afterwards, it was like Eminem, Kanye West. It was just like everyone turned up and went, "I'm Kanye West. Here's one song. Bye." And it's like, write the check, done. And it was literally, it was just such crash. It's like everything I hate about American games publishers are basically going, "Hey guys, how much would it cost to whack our dicks on the table?" And it's like 100 million. And we'll get nothing out of it other than everyone else going, "Wow, they've got quite a big dick. Let's do it." And it's just like, it's such a horrendous waste of money. It's like, fuck you guys. Seriously?
Probably tax deductible as entertainment though, so...
But they could have made a game. They could have made a couple of games with the money they spent.
Activision, making games.
Don't do that anymore. They do shooting and toys. Anyway, got a couple more questions actually. Got time for one or two more. Somebody said, "Are you all wrestling fans? And what was your favourite game?" Now it's mainly Miller, right?
Yeah.
Favourite wrestling game?
I don't. Yeah.
WCW versus NWO Revenge. I'm not like a huge wrestling fan anymore.
You chat with Simon quite a bit.
Yeah, but I'm more
wrestling
interested in
related.
kind of wrestling in not what she goes on in the ring, but like the politics behind it. And I'm not talking about the backstage stuff.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the fact that Vince McMahon, is running this empire. I think it's actually a really interesting story, but I'm not going to go into it. So I find the whole thing fascinating, but the in-ring stuff, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I never watch any of it. But yeah.
What was that game on the 64 with Stone Cold, Steve Austin on the front? That was the one that I always seem to remember as the one that people go on about. Was that Attitude?
Yeah, where he's doing in the term. It's got a red cover, right?
I liked all of the N64 ones, really, most of them, because they were just silly and it was just fun four-player nonsense. And I've never liked wrestling, but they were just daft.
They were good games, They were good games that also happened to be about wrestling.
I like the fact you just ended up immediately, everyone, rather than somebody getting thrown out of the ring and then fighting outside the ring, which is what happens in wrestling. Somebody would climb out and then pick up a chair, and it would just end up being like, "Let's go and hit each other's chairs." It was great fun. We've got some more. Diesel Pumper asks, "How good is Chucky Drugs?" It's very good. It's an easy question. Stevie Ward says, "Shoe on head?" ?
Sometimes.
I'm going to go for yes.
Yeah.
Depending on the weather,
yeah.
I'd say.
Wouldn't like it.
Yeah. Wouldn't like it. Okay. Fair enough. And one last question about games. True Englishman, okay, Thomas Mike says, "What's more important in the game, solid gameplay or a fantastic story? And does this vary from AAA titles to indie games?" I think you've got to have one or the other, personally. I don't think both are essential, weirdly.
There are, I think Catherine is one of those games that's got like a really interesting story, but the gameplay is fucking
It's
rough.
awful, yeah.
Whereas, you can play Call of Duty, and I enjoy the Call of Duty single players because I know what they are. The story makes zero sense. There's a negative figure in terms of
everyone's
sense
like,
it makes, but it's fun.
It's a shooting gallery. You're just shooting tin cans as they pop up, and it's like, it's fun. It's fun. Dong, 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 dong.
The Eiffel Tower just fell over. Brilliant.
Cool.
Why not? So a bit of both.
But I prefer it when people go all out with that. Like, that's why games like Binary Domain are so awesome, is the fact that it knows that it's fun shooting people in the head. So when you shoot a robot in the head, it makes a wonderful noise, like ching, ching.
Oh.
When you get headshots, it rewards you for every headshot with like just a little pat on the back going, yeah,
you're the man. Yeah.
And I think, I reckon games have either got to have amazing stories and screw the gameplay, like The Walking Dead, where it's just like, it doesn't need a game, it's just a brilliant interactive story. Or just be a game.
Yeah.
And it's weird how often now we play games where we're like, this is a video game, and we get so excited because it's like,
Army of Two.
yeah, it's not afraid to be.
So good.
That is the game of champion now, isn't it?
Oh, everyone! I was at, just briefly, I was at EA the other day, and seeing FIFA 14, and they had like a demo unit in the lobby. I was speaking to a couple of PR guys. They had a demo unit up playing with Army of Two, and I was like, you do know that game is complete rubbish, essentially, but it's brilliant. And I won't say who it was, but they were like, well, and quite political. And I was like, you've made this so good by mistake. I was like, so good. And then I immediately left.
Yeah.
But
Did you
when you
choose to
left.
leave? Or?
Well, I thought now might be the time, and just went
You
out.
saw the security moving in, and you thought, I'm going to go now. I'm not being fired. I'm leaving. And finally, we'll just touch on the Member of the Month competition. For those of you not familiar with Member of the Month, it's all on the forum. Basically, once a month we give away 3 games. One person for being good on the forum and getting voted to be the best on the forum. One person for voting, and it's a random draw. Basically, you vote for anyone and you might win. And thirdly, my favourite, we do something daft and people can win something for being generally excellent. The competition we're doing at the moment, this month, which ends in, is it a couple of weeks or next week?
A couple of weeks.
I think we've got a couple of weeks. We're halfway through. Is to create a fictional solution to a fictional point-and-click adventure game. Because we were talking about games like Sam & Max and Dare Technical about how some of the solution stuff and that were ridiculous. And we've had so far, I'm just going to mention a couple of entries which are brilliant, sort of like set the bar for any future ones. But Grammatron has made this incredible kind of point-and-click.
That's my favourite so far.
He's mocked it up. He's actually mocked up this UI and settings for how the game works.
Pissed.
It's called Pissed, spelled Pyst.
It's better than Skyrim's UI, I'll tell you that.
It is. It's better for
Not
PC
with mods.
use.
Not with mods.
But it's incredible. It's got this sort of action log about going through stuff like leave pub, go to tube closed, swear, fall over, hail taxi, taxi hailed, fare refused, fall over, go to kebab shop. It continues until it's find keys, swear, find keys unavailable. And then finally saying knock on door and wake up girlfriend, yes or no.
Oh, that's actually genuinely very good.
It's brilliant. It's genuinely brilliant. But you should still enter the competition if you haven't, because you might beat him. But at the moment, he's kind of nailing this. But yeah, do go to the forum and you will see all sorts of stuff. And also you might as well just say hello. Why not? We won't bite your head off. My other favourite entry actually is a reference to Dark Souls Pants Man by NGZ, which is saying you exit a doorway onto a church roof. After walking forwards a couple of steps, you notice that 2 of the gargoyles have come to life and are out for your blood. All you have is your reinforced club, stamina boosting shield and your pants. Your club is not strong enough to hurt the gargoyles in any significant way. You need to weaken them. What do you do? And of course the answer, as anyone who watched Dark Souls Pants Man live knows, is to sing My Sharona by the Knack, which is their only weakness.
Knack!
It did work. It did amazingly work. I died on those gargoyles many times and still people in the live stream started demanding that we sang My Sharona whilst doing the boss battle. And we beat them.
What? So Sony need that, don't they? Sony need that. You know, the whole Knack thing. Get Sony to get
the knack of it.
That should be the song. Instead of some really twatty when you start like machine.
Didn't they open the conference with that? Oh, I went like a teenage boy again. Didn't they open the conference with that song? Or am I making that up?
Did they?
No, I'm making it up.
You're making that up. It's in your dream.
Would have been amazing.
But yeah, actually, we have put up the latest episode of Dark Souls Pants Man. If you want to catch up on that, it's quite fun. Last night, I managed to kill a giant Chaos Witch spider whilst singing
Lady,
a bit of Lady in Red by Krista Berg. So
that would put anyone down, to be honest. That song.
That was a tough night.
It was a really tough night.
Was just
it broke me mentally.
Combination
physically.
of Matt singing and repeatedly dying.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. But if you're into kind of mental flagellation, then do check that out. And I think that's about all we've got time for this week on the Video Gamer UK podcast. But as ever, thank you very much for joining us. If you have enjoyed it, then you can subscribe on the iTunes.
Yep.
You can subscribe on the YouTube. And why not give the podcast to your family for Christmas? It's a lovely present that doesn't cost any monies at all.
Yep.
Anyway, my name is Matt Lees. I've been joined by Chris Pratt,
Bye.
Steve Burns,
See ya.
and David Scammell.
Bye.
Goodbye.